Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting Tuesday, the 3rd of February. First up, a disclaimer. In accordance with Regulation 14L of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, this meeting is being audio recorded and the recording will be published on the town's website within 14 days. Members of the public are cautioned against taking any action as a result of a council decision tonight until such time as the minutes of the meeting are published or have been advised in writing by the council's administration with regard to any particular decision. Elected members are asked to ensure the use of their microphones for the purposes of this audio recording. Item 1, declaration of opening and announcement of visitors. We declare the meeting now open at 7:01. We'd also like to acknowledge the Whadjuk people and particularly our knowledge holders who have a particular connection with Lake Clermont tonight. Record of attendance, leave of absence nil, apologies nil. Electronic attendance, we have Councillor Mayne attending electronically in accordance with Regulation 14C of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996. And Councillor Mayne is to make a declaration of confidentiality in relation to confidential agenda items as required by the regulations. Councillor Mayne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I declare that I will be able to maintain confidentiality during the meeting in accordance with Regulation 14C(a)(5) of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a leave of absence for Councillor Sarah Franklin. Thank you. Response to previous...
May I need to declare interest?
Sure. Disclosure of interest.
So I declare that I have an interest in item 17.1.1, Chief Executive Officer recruitment. The nature of the interest is that this disclosure is made on the basis I have a direct financial interest in this item as the commencement date of a new CEO would effectively end my financial relationship with the town as its employee by which I currently derive income. The extent of the interest is that the remuneration and employment benefits payable to me between the end of my current contract and the commencement date of the next CEO.
Thank you. Item 4, response to previous questions taken on notice, nil. Item 5, public question time. I'll be reading as requested by Glenn Hahn via email correspondence his question. I do note that he has referenced Councillor Franklin that is not here tonight, and I would not personally phrase the question in relation to Councillor Franklin in this manner, but I will read the question as written and the town will provide the answer as given. Question 1. I note comments attributed to Councillor Franklin in the Post News regarding road safety speed limits in Clermont. Did any councillor in the town of Clermont elections declare in their mandate for re-election they would lobby for changing road speed limits at a cost to ratepayers of the town of Clermont?
The answer to that, question 1, councillors are elected to represent the interests of the community and to participate in decision-making on matters that come before council. Whilst councillors may express priorities or areas of interest during an election campaign, they aren't required to campaign on or pre-declare every issue that may arise during their term. The role of a councillor includes the ability to consider new information, respond to emerging issues and bring forward proposals or motions for council's consideration.
Question 2. My understanding is Main Roads WA are the entity responsible for road safety and speed limits in WA. Main Roads keep statistics on injuries and injuries location and make the necessary responsible signage changes at their own cost if it is necessary. Can Councillor Franklin advise that the statistics in Clermont over the last 3 years for injuries to pedestrians in the designated areas that Councillor Franklin is relying upon to appeal to Main Roads to change?
Answer to that question. Public question time is for questions to the council, not individual councillors. Once a decision or resolution is made, it is owned by the council. Council's resolution at its ordinary meeting last November was that council requests the administration provide a report to council outlining the possible pathway for consideration of the introduction of a 40km/h speed limit on local roads in the town of Claremont. The resolution doesn't commit council to introducing the speed limit change, as that consideration will occur once a report is presented back to council. The matters raised in the question can be considered at that time. It is acknowledged that Main Roads Western Australia is the approving authority for changes in road speed limits, and local governments can make recommendations for changes to be considered.
Question 3. How much additional cost would be incurred to the ratepayers of Claremont for these changes?
A response, at this stage, any costs associated with the introduction of a lower speed limit would be borne by the town. Indications at this stage are that speed limit signs would need to be erected at each intersection at a yet to be determined cost to the town. An estimate will be provided in the future report to council, where at that time council will determine whether to make a recommendation to Main Roads Western Australia.
Councillor, question 4. Are these costs justified on the statistical facts when the schools in the area are already subject to a 40km limit?
A response to that question, this will be determined by council when the administration report is presented for consideration.
We'll continue now with public question time. I do note that it is public question time, but we will permit a degree of preamble to the questions given tonight. And there are a lot of friendly faces in the gallery tonight and ratepayers. So if you can be as brief as possible in your preamble and then come to the question, please. Calling up Wendy Clink first up. Thank you, Wendy.
Good evening, Wendy Clink from 20 Saladin Street, Swanbourne. In regards to 93 Shenton Road, the operators have not applied for a permit to trade on a public thoroughfare or public place. The town tells us that the noise and the congestion on the footpath surrounding 93 Shenton Road is not the responsibility of the proprietor to manage, as the patrons are not on the built site of the cafe. They're just people that happen to be on a footpath. This is despite the fact that they're consuming side produce or are waiting to receive their orders. According to Google reviews, it can take up to an hour for orders to be received by the patrons when they're waiting. 93 Shenton Road has music being played through the front open windows with speakers facing into the street. The music is heard clearly by up to 40 people standing on the footpath. Festoon lighting is erected on the front veranda for ambience. A dog bowl is constantly on the path, at times left overnight, and an unfixed rubbish bin is provided so people can consume the goods on the path and dispose of the rubbish before leaving. The noise and congestion on the path is a nuisance. It starts at 6 or 6:30 a.m, 7 days a week. The proprietors of 93 Shenton are trading as the footpath and neighbours' verges as an extension of their own trading floor. There are at times up to 80 people on this site, which exacerbates the traffic and the parking issues. The town has told us that public liability is okay for people to congregate on this site, on the footpath, as they have public liability cover, and it's not the town's place to ask about a business insurance details. This is despite a number of the town's standard food business forms asking for this information. Some patrons do not enter the premise. Orders are made and paid for off-site through the app, and side piece staff regularly leave the built premise and serve patrons on the footpath or the verge within a range of 4 properties from the cafe. And it's a constant case that they're calling out the names of the patrons as they exit the built premise to find who has the order. So the question is, why is the town allowing the business to continue to trade on a public thoroughfare without a valid permit, without trading boundaries, and it seems no evidence of holding a certificate of currency?
CEO.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Klink. Response is the control of trading in thoroughfares and public places, including the provision of outdoor eating facilities in the town of Claremont, is controlled by the town's activities on thoroughfares and public places local law, and more specifically Part 4 of that local law. The congregation of customers on a footpath outside a food business is not classified under the local law as trading or as an outdoor eating facility. No tables and chairs are provided for customers to dine, and a defined eating area hasn't been approved. Regulatory responsibility for a business's customers commences once they are within the approved premises or within an approved outdoor trading or eating area that forms part of the business. If people standing on the footpath and waiting for a table on a footpath and waiting for a table inside the business to become available, or waiting for a takeaway order, then they are considered to be members of the public using a public facility, in this case, the footpath. On this basis, the business cannot be legally directed to control these people's activity.
Ms. Klink, would you like to ask your second question? Great, thank you.
Thank you. This question was raised at the October Ordinary Council meeting. The response was taken on notice, and I have not received a reply 3 months later. 93 Shenton Road produces products for wholesale and retail sales at a number of other cafes in the area, as well as a catering business. Given the increase in the scale and the scope of the operation, should this enterprise be reclassified from sandwich shop to industrial or commercial kitchen? Is this operation allowed to continue in a residential area?
Thank you, Ms. Klink. CEO.
The local planning scheme does not differentiate a sandwich shop. The current use is classified as in brackets, a shop/intermediate under the local planning scheme. The current uses of the premises and the configuration of the premises is compliant with that use.
I just ask for your forbearance in terms of a response to the questions, please. Calling Kerry Wells. Ms. Wells.
Is it correct that Council is now onto its 3rd odour consultant after 5 months of residents being bathed in industrial-scale pollution caused by side-piece deli operations? The bulk of the noxious odours are produced by fast food cooking in a purpose-built fast food kitchen located in the former Chew Cafe dining room.
Excuse me, Ms. Wells. The question we have on notice is, it starts with, is it correct that the council is now?
Is it correct that the council is now onto its 3rd odour consultant?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not that deep.
What's your problem?
I'm just following the question as it's stated.
And
Please-
the bit
please-
about
please go ahead.
And the bit about a preamble being okay?
Pardon? The question is as stated here. The other preamble was written on the question sheet that we were handed. So if you could please ask the question as written.
As residents have been waiting since last August for help with this assault on their health and well-being, how can we have any confidence in the town's ability to solve what is clearly an ongoing breach of the Environmental Protection Act?
CEO.
The response is it is not correct because the town has engaged private consultants to evaluate the efficacy of the exhaust system and then to determine if there is any basis for claim odour impacts on nearby houses. Different consultants are required for different phases. Residents can be assured the town has seriously and studiously acted to investigate claims based on collection of evidence and advice from qualified and experienced consultants.
Calling now Eric Bolto, please.
Is council capable of correcting the gross negative effects on the surrounding community caused by their de facto approval of the fast food outlet in the former cafe in Shenton Road, now called Side Piece?
Thank you. Mr. Bolto, Mr. CEO.
The response is that the current use is classified as a shop intermediate under the local planning scheme. The current use of the premises and the configuration of the premises is compliant with this use. The use is not classified as a fast food shop. The town has investigated any basis to claims of negative effects and is using technically qualified and experienced persons to advise the town.
Calling now Kerry Satchwell, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors. My name is Kerry Satchwell and I live at 87 Shenton Road in Swanbourne. You may not allow this, but in order for my question to make any sense at all, there are 3 quotes that I need to say, but stop me if you wish to. After the 27th of May 2025 council consideration of the development application for what turned out to be a very small part of the Side Piece development, Mayor Barker congratulated the proponents saying, "So, you've got your shop, your restaurant, or whichever, cafe? Congratulations." Clearly, the Mayor and the majority of the councillors were unclear about what they just voted for. Then, on the 4th of October, the Post newspaper quoted the Mayor as saying, "It seems as though there are a hell of a lot more people going there than we ever were led to believe." Further to that, on the 8th of October, Jock Barker wrote to a resident saying, "We had no reason to believe it would turn out to be so big and cause the distress that has eventuated. Please accept my apology for what has occurred." Given that the then Mayor Jock Barker had the good grace to admit that he and other councillors had been misled about the scale of the Side Piece development and has apologised, when will the council stop gaslighting us and trying to defend the indefensible, and for goodness sake, fix the planning mess that's been created? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Satchwell. CEO.
Response is any statement made by the former Mayor was a personal opinion and doesn't represent the position of the town. The town is investigating to confirm any substance to claims of negative effects and is using technically qualified and experienced persons to investigate and advise. Should the town be satisfied there is a case for remedy, officers will seek to engage with the business operator to investigate possible and reasonable better practices and improvements.
Thank you, CEO, but I do remind you that Mr. Jock Barker was the Mayor at the time.
Thank you. Calling now, I believe John's not present tonight. John Burridge. John? Oh, there we are. Down the back. Haven't got my long-sighted glasses on. Thanks, John.
Years living next door to a deli, so I know the difference between a deli and a lunch bar. Preamble. Given that the neighbours of Side Piece have now had 4 independent sets of legal advice confirming that Side Piece is indeed a fast food outlet as opposed to a lunch bar, I ask the following questions, which should be easy to answer. When is the council going to pull the plug on Side Piece illegal fast food operation and apply your own bylaws, LPS 3, to show that you and they, the bylaws, do have teeth? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burridge. CEO.
Thanks, Mr. Burridge. The response is really identical to the response to the previous question. The current use is classified as a shop intermediate under the local planning scheme. The current uses of the premises and the configuration of the premises is compliant with this use. The use is not classified as a fast food shop. The town is investigating to confirm any substance to claims of negative effects and is using technically qualified and experienced persons to investigate and advise. Should the town be satisfied there is a case for remedy, officers will seek to engage with the business operator to investigate possible and reasonable better practices and improvements.
Thank you, CEO. That now finishes public question time. We now go to item 6, public statement time. Desmond Heron, please.
Basically, I'm going to say what I wrote before in my public statement. If I was a councillor and they were putting a small bar next to you, I would vote no, because I feel you're entitled to a quality of life, a peaceful environment, and a small bar would be noise pollution, 6 days a week. So I hope that you would do the same thing for me and not go ahead with this small bar. It will have a huge negative impact on my quality of life. It doesn't belong in a residential area. The Perth is an ideal place for it if they want to have it. There's no residents around, and if they're serious about it, that'd be the place. And Perth wants these sort of places anyway. The councillors are in a leadership position to guide young people in the right direction, and alcohol is never the right direction. And it's always detrimental to a community. And we'll have vomit on the sidewalk in the morning and all that sort of stuff, broken glass, and, it doesn't belong there. That's my statement.
Thank you for making your statement tonight. Nicole Anson, please.
Good evening, councillors, mayor and council staff. My name's Nicole Anson from 33 2nd Avenue in Claremont. I hope you had a relaxing and enjoyable Christmas break and New Year for the first meeting back. I'm here tonight to thank the council officers and Mr Anthony Scutty, the Manager of Planning and Development, for the thorough assessment of the application for the proposed small bar at 18 to 20 Ashton Ave. I feel that the matter has been appropriately investigated from a legal standpoint, that logistical considerations have been well assessed, and most importantly, the voice of the community has been heard. The concerns of myself and my neighbours, all of whom would be heavily impacted by this proposal, have been heard. I wholeheartedly thank you for this and know that the handling of matters in this way will only further build on trust with the community. Before this goes to a vote, sorry, I think I'm cutting in and out a bit there, if that's the right height. Is that all good? Before this goes to a vote, I wish to just briefly reiterate to the council again that we strongly object to the proposal for all the reasons in Mr Scuddy's report. I wish to highlight that the application is in direct conflict with the intended core purpose of the precinct, which is articulated in the local centre zone objectives, the local planning scheme number 3, and the planning and development regulations of 2015, and therefore should be rejected on that basis. The two key questions that need to be answered tonight in accordance with those regulations are, does the premises adjoin a residential area? And are there no adverse and detrimental effects on the residents and the amenity of the properties in the area? If the answer is yes, then the proposal must be rejected on that basis. Please note that the legal determination is not, would it be good to have a small bar in the area? It is the former question, and deviation from this obviously has legal implications and the potential for community outrage. In summary, just to reiterate that the impacts would clearly include noise disturbance and the likelihood for antisocial behaviour, therefore disrupting residents' right to quiet enjoyment, causing sleep disruption, financial loss due to decline in property market value, and the flow-on effect to physical and mental health. I wish to also make clear that this is not a NIMBY argument. We are supportive, very supportive of the small shops that offer convenience during acceptable hours, that are compatible with residential uses, and will continue to support these uses and the precinct as well as the Claremont Showgrounds. Unfortunately, a licensed premises that serves alcohol throughout the night whilst our families are sleeping less than 20 metres away is not an acceptable or reasonable use. Residential properties are directly adjoining, directly across the road, and allowing people to play music, consume alcohol, and no doubt the worst one, have conversations at their parked cars right outside our properties long into the night is just not okay. My family has the added complexity of loving and raising a son with profound autism, and our bedrooms are directly opposite the premises. Life looks a little bit different for us as my son Charlie, who's 7, becomes heavily dysregulated by noise, sensory overload, crowds, and sleeps only intermittently throughout the night. Whilst we wouldn't change a thing for our family, this impacts our ability to sleep and often leads to burnout. Should we have the added pressure of noise disturbance from a bar every night of the week, I have no idea where this would leave us. The impact on our son and our family would be unimaginable. So thank you for listening, and I trust that you will support the right decision and the Council's recommendation and the right decision for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms Anson. Now calling Kerry Satchwell, Swanbourne. Mr Satchwell. Sorry, Ms Satchwell, sorry. Yep.
Well, as is obvious, I do not live in Ashton Avenue, but I'm standing here tonight to make a statement about the Ashton Avenue bar proposal from the perspective of a Town of Claremont resident who suffers daily from the effects of grossly ill-informed and ill-advised approvals. As you know, over the past 5 months, we too have suffered from noise pollution, industrial-scale air pollution, and social traffic and parking congestion that no one should be subjected to in a residential zone, particularly in this beautiful town. Our quality of life has been damaged and our property values have been diminished, and this must not happen again to the fellow citizens of Ashton Avenue. Our sad situation was created by disinformation from the proponents and misinformation from the town's administration. But thankfully, this time, council officers have consulted properly and made competent, evidence-based recommendations about the bar proposal. What is particularly disturbing to locals living near Side Piece and must serve as a warning to Ashton Avenue residents is that the town, having created this debacle, can't or simply won't fix it. For Ashton Avenue residents, 120 people or up to 120 people in a so-called small bar doesn't pass the pub test, and that's mainly because it is a pub. So I urge Council to please reject this application for the Ashton Avenue bar and avoid yet another planning calamity in the town. Ashton Avenue residents do not deserve this, and nor did we.
Thank you, Ms. Satchell. Now calling Georgina Maslin, please.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. My name is Georgina Maslin, and my husband and I are the local owners of Bougie Brew on Ashton Avenue. We live directly behind the venue on First Avenue. This is our neighbourhood where we are raising our family, and we are personally, emotionally and financially invested in the area. I want to begin with the most important part. This proposal did not start with us, it started with our community. Across 2 rounds of consultation, more than 600 local residents, most of whom live in the surrounding streets, signed in support. There are people who walk to Bougie Brew who treat it as their neighbourhood gathering place and who have consistently expressed the area needs a small, safe, early evening venue where they can walk to. It is also important to remember the actual setting of the premises. Bougie Brew is not located in a quiet cul-de-sac. It sits on Ashton Avenue, a busy main road within a defined commercial strip of multiple businesses and directly adjacent to the Claremont Showgrounds. This is an area that already experiences regular activity, traffic movement and a mix of uses. The idea that this proposal would be dropped into a silent residential pocket is simply not accurate. Despite the strength of local support, including the many written submissions, the petition of more than 600 signatures, and the overwhelming positive response when this proposal was discussed publicly online before Christmas, none of this has been meaningfully acknowledged in the officer report. This submission misrepresents the true level of neighbourhood support of this proposal. Several assumptions underlying the recommendation before you also require correction. Bougie Brew has operated for more than 2 years with not a single noise complaint being raised with us in that time. Yet the report refers to noise concerns and repeats inaccurate statements made at a previous council meeting, including the idea that the cafe sits 3 to 10 metres from residential boundaries. That was incorrect then and remains incorrect now. The actual setback is well over 20 metres. Even with a completely clean history, we voluntarily committed to preparing a full noise management plan, including acoustic modelling, mitigation and monitoring, going well beyond the level typically required for a small suburban bar. Parking concerns raised in the report are similarly unsupported. The statement that the venue will likely be affected by parking deficits is presented without any supporting assessment, modelling or data. Under clause 31A4 of LPS 3, shared parking is expressly permitted when operating hours do not overlap. Our neighbouring tenancies, professional offices, allied health and medical uses operate roughly between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. Our activity is early evening and low intensity. There is no conflict in demand. We have already confirmed in writing that we will enter into the required shared parking agreement as soon as the town provides the preferred format. Patron capacity has also been misunderstood. The 120 patron number is the legislative maximum for a small bar, not an expected or operational target. Our usual evening patronage will remain modest and neighbourhood-based. The higher limit only allows for occasional community events such as milestone birthdays, parents' evenings or small neighbourhood gatherings. exactly the types of events local residents have already requested. Importantly, as we have repeatedly stated to the town in writing, that we are fully willing to work with officers to identify an appropriate patron capacity for this location. The town's own environmental health officer also confirmed, again in writing, that the appropriate number cannot be determined until the noise management plan is completed. That analysis has not yet been undertaken, which makes refusal at this stage premature. Finally, the officer report suggests that a small bar in a local centre must meet an exceptional circumstances threshold. That is not the applicable planning test. A small bar is a discretionary use under LPS 3, and it must be assessed on its merits under the scheme, not held to a higher threshold that does not exist in the planning framework. Throughout this entire process, we have been constructive, responsive, and transparent. We have addressed every issue raised, offered additional safeguards, corrected factual inaccuracies, and shown a genuine willingness to collaborate. As residents living and under 60 metres from the venue, no one has a greater personal interest in protecting the amenity, safety and character of the neighbourhood than we do. This is our home and our community. If councillors still have questions or uncertainties regarding noise, parking, the patron capacity or community sentiment, we respectfully ask that you please come back to us for clarification rather than making a final decision tonight based on assumptions that have not yet been tested against the evidence. We remain very willing to work through any remaining matters to reach an outcome that protects amenity while responding to the very clear community desire for a small, well-managed neighbourhood venue. Thank you for your time and for considering our submission.
Thank you, Ms Meslin. That concludes public statement time. Item 7, applications for leave of absence. That Councillor Mayne be granted a leave of absence from the 26th of May 2026 Ordinary Council meeting. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved. Councillor Brown, seconded. Councillor Gertzi. All those in favour? Carried. No dissent. Thank you. Item 8, petitions, deputations and presentations. Nil. Item 9, confirmation of minutes from the previous meeting. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved. Councillor Cameron, seconded. Councillor Fernandez. All those in favour? Carried. No dissent. Item 10, announcement of confidential matters for which this meeting will be closed to the public. 17.1.1, Chief Executive Officer recruitment. Item 11, business not dealt with from a previous meeting, nil. 12, reports of committees, nil. 13, reports of the CEO. 13.1.1, monthly statement of financial activity for the period ended the 31st of December 2025. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved. Councillor Suwan, seconded. Councillor Gertzi. Councillor Suwan. Councillor Gertzi. Anyone like to speak for or against? I'll put it. All those in favour? Carried. No dissent. 13.1.2, list of payments, the 1st to the 31st of December 2025. A mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Kelly and Councillor Fernandez. All those in favour? Carried. No dissent. Item 13.2.1, proposed change of use to small bar, lot 93, 18 to 20, Ashton Avenue, Claremont. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved Councillor Gertzi and seconded Councillor Fernandez. Councillor Gertzi.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This application, as we all know, is for a change of use from a daytime coffee shop to a nighttime small bar. The council sent out 86 letters to the neighbours within 100 metres of the premises and received 10 submissions objecting to the proposal.
Sending out 86 letters means that there's a lot of people with 100 metres of the radius, and I think that's a lot of people who have the potential to be impacted by this application. The main objections received related to noise, parking, and the impact on the local amenity. The application is for 120 patrons, and the hours are until 9 p.m. on weeknights and 11 p.m. on the weekend. The premises are too small to hold 120 people inside, so most of the people will be outside in the alfresco area. The current location is surrounded by residential housing on all sides, with people living directly behind and people living directly across the road, as well as on both sides. So the residents in this location already have to cope with noise and events and activities from the Royal Show. And I think to add noise on a daily basis from a small bar would have a detrimental impact on this amenity. There's a shortfall of 30 parking bays for this application, so parking would be in the local streets. This would be mitigated to some extent by locals walking to the bar or using rideshare, or also using some of the areas that are available for the other businesses in the area. But there would still be a significant impact on the local streets. I note that the applicant has done a petition, and this has gathered significant support. So we heard tonight that over 600 people have responded to this petition in support of a small bar. And I too love the idea of a small bar in a local area. I love the idea of a small bar that you can walk to. But I believe that this particular local area is unsuitable. There are too many residents in the immediate vicinity. The small bar is not small enough. So we heard tonight that the application is for 120 people, which is too big for the premises to hold everyone inside. So even if on a normal basis there's not 120 people there, there is still the potential from time to time to have 120 people. And you can't have 120 people inside the premises, so most people would be outside where the noise would travel. And I also believe that the hours are too late for a predominantly residential area. I was on council when the T-Box Cafe liquor licence application came to council, and there was concern then about the impact of that on the local amenity. But the circumstances for the T-Box are quite different from this one in Ashton Avenue. The T-Box is largely surrounded by parkland, and the nearest houses have a road and a car park between them and the cafe. And there's also a car park there for over 100 cars adjacent to the premises. To help protect the local amenity, the hours of the liquor licence were restricted to 8 p.m, 7 days a week. So the impact was significantly reduced. So none of those things apply to this cafe in this small bar in Ashton Avenue. This current situation, I believe that the location is simply not suitable because of the impact that it will have on the neighbours. I think it's a real shame that it's not actually an application for within the showgrounds, because somewhere in the showgrounds would be ideal, but where it's actually located in Ashton Avenue, I think it will have too much impact on the neighbours. So I support the officer recommendation to refuse this application.
Thank you, Councillor Gertie. Councillor Fernandez, please.
I have nothing further to add.
Okay. Anyone else like to speak for the officer's recommendation? Anyone? Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I just want to thank Nicole Anson and Georgina Maslin for their professional and respectful statements. And I agree with Councillor Goetze. It is a shame. Clearly, there's a lot of people who would like such a facility, but I agree this isn't the place for it. I commend Georgina Maslin for the idea, and I hope she ultimately finds, or they ultimately find, a place where they can do this, because I think the community does want something like this, but I don't think this is the place for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Anyone like to speak against the officer's recommendation? Anyone like to speak for? Deputy Mayor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, this is essentially an application for an SA use, which is, I hate to draw the analogy, but that's effectively what Side Piece has. So if this was to be approved tonight, it therefore allows a continuation. Well, the scheme provides for some sort of continuation as long as there's not a break in that special approval. So an SA use is a distinctive use, and the threshold is particularly high. Primarily, it's got to be for the purposes of local shopping, which it may well meet. Desirability in providing a wide range of services, it may also. But the kicker is in relation to the scale of use and whether it's compatible in the residential setting. And that's probably the area where there is considerable concern. It's notable that there are a photographic representation of a petition or pages of a petition or letters of signatures of support. But unfortunately, that wasn't in response to the process that we run. And the immediate surrounding neighbours are the ones that we sought comment from, and there's very little support. In fact, I don't think none of the 10 that responded supported. So, for me, it's that third test that it probably fails, and I'm mindful that if we were to approve it, it would continue to be able to be used. So it means that if the business or the lease was on-sold or transferred or whatever, it would continue to be used in the same way as there are another number of other SA uses in this town that are continuing to operate, because once they're allowed to operate, as long as there's continuity, then the SA use doesn't fall away. And we've had a number of examples of that. So that's the basis upon which I would support the recommendation tonight.
Yeah. Anyone like to speak against? Anyone like to speak for? I'll put it. All those in favour of the officer's recommendation? Carried. No dissents here. Thank you. Now, item 14. Just quickly go around the table. Councillor Brown, please.
Nothing to add, thank you. As you know, I just recently got back from leave, so nothing to add, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Swan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I've been involved in the committee for the CEO recruitment, and I also had the pleasure of attending the citizenship ceremony last week. Was it this week? Last week, which is always a pleasure. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Goetze.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just going back to last year, I attended the Christmas carols. I think we've had a meeting since then, but in addition to that, I've had lots and lots of positive feedback, and I've had lots of feedback about the Christmas carols from my granny friends and from the next generation down with their children, from parents at Freshwater Bay Primary School. and lots of people saying things like they think Claremont does such a fantastic job with events like this, and much better than other councils. So I'm always very happy to take that sort of feedback. I also attended the graduation ceremony at Freshwater Bay Primary School and presented an award. I attended Sandra Brewer's Christmas morning tea, and that was nice because that's the first time I've ever been invited to a local member's Christmas morning tea. So that was a nice thing to do. And I also attended the citizenship ceremony last week. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goetze. Deputy Mayor Kelly.
I can't compete with any of that. I can barely remember last year. But I did attend the citizenship ceremony, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Fernandez.
Yep, I attended Sandra Brewer's morning tea as well, the citizenship ceremony. We attended a special meeting we had with on the recruitment of a new CEO. And I've completed 2 more of the mandatory training modules, only 1 left to go.
Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Completely unprepared for this, but as usual. But like Councillor Swan, I have attended the committee for the new CEO. And I would like to take this opportunity because although we'll be talking about the next bit in confidence, I would like to congratulate the Chair, Annette Swan, and the independent panel member, Jan Staggers, for doing a sensational job. And I just wanted that on the public record rather than mention it again in confidence. So thank you, Chairperson, for doing such a good job. And that is all. I did want to attend the citizenship, but unfortunately I was in Melbourne watching the Australian Open. Sorry.
Thank you. I'm not sure where I am with school going back this week, quite frankly. Councillor Mayne, I can see you there. Good evening. Thank you very much. Moving on now. Item 17, confidential items for which the meeting may be closed. Motion to close the doors. That in accordance with section 5.23, brackets 2 of the Local Government Act 1995, this meeting is closed to members of the public with the following subsections applicable. A matter affecting an employee or employees, and B, a matter relating to the recruitment of the CEO, section 5.232B of the Local Government Act. Move, please, and a second. Moved, Councillor Swan, seconded, Councillor Goetze. All those in favour? Carried. Record of the time is 7:53, and we'll close the doors, please. Motion to open the doors. Moved, Deputy Mayor Kelly, seconded, Councillor Fernandez. All those in favour, carry no dissent. We open the doors at 8:05. 17.1, Chief Executive Officer recruitment. That Council notes the recommendation of the CEO selection panel. 2, approves the recommended candidate named in confidential attachment 1 as suitably qualified for the position. 3, approves pursuant to Schedule 2, Clause 11 of the Local Government Administration Regulation 1996, the making of an offer of employment to the recommended candidate named in confidential attachment 1 for the position of CEO at the town of Claremont. 4, approves the proposed terms of the CEO employment contract detailed in confidential attachment 2, including A, a contract term of 5 years, B, with a probationary period of 6 months, and C, with a total reward package value between 182,109 and 300,370 in accordance with the 2025 Salaries and Allowances Tribunal Local Government Determination. And I'm good, but I'm not that good. Band 3, range. There's a blank on the salary recommendation there. Absolute majority 5 authorises the Mayor to execute the CEO employment contract in accordance with the Local Government Act 1995, Section 9.49A, subject to the candidate agreeing to enter into the proposed terms of the CEO employment contract, subject to clauses 7 and 8 of this resolution. And 6, notes that the subject to the candidate named in confidential attachment 1 accepting the proposed terms of the CEO employment contract and the Mayor executing the employment contract, the candidate is appointed to the position of CEO at the Town of Claremont. 7, authorises the Chair of the selection panel and Mayor to jointly present the offer and proposed contract to the candidate and agree on behalf of the Town to minor amendments that are necessary to finalise the contract, provided that those amendments remain within the parameters approved by Council. And 8, notes that if any amendment proposed by the candidate falls outside the parameters approved by Council, the amended proposed contract must be submitted to Council for approval by absolute majority before the contract is executed. 18, future meetings of Council. Ordinary Council meeting Tuesday the 24th of February at 7 p.m. 19, declaration closure of meeting. We close the meeting at 8:09. Thank you.